right, so welcome back to another edition, social distance edition of Into the Abyss. We're hoping it's our last social distance edition. We probably could technically meet together now because we have been approved in New York State for groups less than 10 or less. I, however, have major foot surgery coming up, and my wife just kind of wants me to be really careful. Make sure we get through those.
What he's saying is he thinks that Tom and I might be diseased.
Yeah, well, it's not me. My wife is really asking me to be very, very careful about that.
You're stepping on his foot.
So this is the part of the episode where we share with you what we're drinking tonight. But first, we're going to talk about some of the things that are on the horror horizon for us that we're looking forward to. So, Tom, why don't you start off with the one thing you said you're looking forward to?
Well, I just saw the advertisement for the Black Loves. It really just popped up in my feed, and it's interesting. I guess it's a prequel to some other horror movie. So when I watched the preview, I believe it's some type of foreign, but it has a lot of gothic elements. A mansion out in the middle of nowhere. A psychiatrist shows up to help a ballerina who's being overseen by a very protective guardian. So it's a hit and miss. As I said, I found some foreign horror movies that are pretty good, but some that can really go right down the drain.
All right, so Chuck, what have you got you're looking forward to?
Well, I caught a couple. Lovecraft Country. The trailer came out for that. It's going to be on HBO later this year.
Yep.
Maybe we'll have to get together and do a viewing sometime later this year when it comes out. But
Yeah.
very cool premise. I have not read the book yet. I did see the book come out, but it's a very interesting take on Lovecraft. Lovecraft is kind of known for his elder gods and his cosmic horror, but he's also kind of known for the racism that's there. This takes it in a new direction. This has to do with it has that Lovecraftian cosmic horror in a small town, New England horror, but it's got turned where the main characters are African Americans trying to deal with that situation where there's cults, kidnapping and things like that. So it looks very cool. Go out there and watch the trailer. I can't do it justice with a description, but it looks awesome. I'm excited for that. Another one, this was actually announced a little while ago, but with the new PlayStation, Xbox consoles coming up, it's in the news again, and that's Elden Ring. Actually, I want to talk in a little what's been created by From Software, but they're partnering with George R.R. Martin, and if you're familiar with Bloodborne, you're familiar with Dark Souls and those types of game universes, very cool idea. I'll save it for the description on Bloodborne, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do, partnered up with George R.R. Martin, and a new type of horrific universe.
And a lot of people don't realize this, and I've been meaning to do this. George R.R. Martin is known primarily, obviously, for Game of Thrones and the novels. Was it Fire and Ice, I think, or something?
Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice. He was a horror writer, too. He's written several horror novels and on a lot of horror short stories. In fact, he has enough horror short stories to have his own collection. So that's something that I want to explore sometime. All right, so I've got quite a few here. So I've got some things that I want to see, and I've got some things that I just saw that I think everyone should see. But it's not a recommendation like my 5 recs. I'm just going to give you the names and say go see them. Okay. The first one is, and Chuck and I were talking about this, is a movie called Vivarium, starring Jesse Eisenberg. He of the postmodern young hipster Lex Luthor in The Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it Batman versus Superman? I think it was Batman versus Superman. So Vivarium is one of those great movies that the horror in it looks like it's psychological. It's like this middle-class white couple gets caught in this residential neighborhood where all the houses are the same, and it's just kind of like the horror of suburbia, and it looks really weird and trippy.
Very trippy. They're trapped in the suburbia land,
yeah.
And it looks
Yeah,
very
exactly. And those duplexes that are all the same, the lawns are all the same, and they can't leave. It looks interesting. There's another movie called Run with Sarah Paulson. Now, Sarah Paulson is a American Horror Story alum. She's in every season. It looks like a psychological thriller. It looks like a mom with her daughter, and they're on the run. But it starts playing with that. Is it really her daughter? Did she kidnap her? That sort of thing. So that looks interesting. Morbius. Now, I'm not a big fan of Jared Leto. I understand that if you're willing to pay about like $5,000 or more, you can be part of the Jared Leto experience, which means you go to an island and hang out with him as he's dressed like Jesus. So I'm not a fan of that. But I am curious about his Morbius the Living Vampire movie, which is another one of those, like the New Mutants. It's another one of those Marvel movies that's playing with a vampire. And Morbius is like, he has so many crossover adventures with Blade and with Spider-Man. I'm really interested to see how that turns out. You Should Have Left, which is reuniting Kevin Bacon with the director of Stir of Echoes, which we will definitely need to talk about someday for a contemporary classic. Basically, this family moves to a house out in the country to escape something. Marital problems, we don't know what. They get these threatening letters like, you should leave, until one day they get a note that says, you should have left. It's too late. And whether it's a haunted house, whether it's cursed, there's some like secret past that Kevin Bacon's guilty of something. So that looks good. Now, here's two of them that I've already seen, but I think everyone should go see because they're brand new. If you hear any strange noises back here, it's my cat. My cat is not like Chuck's corgi. It will not jump in my lap. It'll just prowl around and meow and scratch.
Well, I've got a corgi prowling around me right now, and you may be hearing my family in the background. So
that's all right. So here's two movies that are brand new, and I'm not going to give you a review, but you should go see them. The first one is The Vast of Night. Okay, it's free on Amazon Prime. You really should go check this out. It is a straight-up love letter to the Twilight Zone into 50s science fiction, and it was just beautifully shot. Not scary, more creepy, just beautifully, beautifully done. I remember watching this by the campfire, and I was just enthralled. It was just so great. And here's another one that I think Into the Abyss is going to talk about eventually. It's called Antrim, the deadliest movie ever. And it's intentional, schlocky, 70s cheap, satanic movie. And the cheapness is intentional, and there are parts of it that are kind of cheap, and parts of it that are genuinely disturbing. That's also free on Amazon Prime. And two things that I have book-wise. Craig DeLuey, who wrote a great novel called Our War, which is not really horror, unless you consider what's going on in our political climate right now, and you think about the reality of civil war in our country possible. That wasn't horror, but it's kind of horrific. He's got a new novel coming out called Children of Red Peak. And it looks like a great, gothic horror, countryside folk horror novel. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And last one, I just got this in the mail. I'm the review editor at Cemetery Dance Publications, which means I get piles of books. Most of them I farm out. Some of them I read. I really enjoyed like nonfiction horror lately. Nonfiction books about horror. And this book just came to me it's called Blood Rush, The Dark History of a Vital Fluid. So it's basically like a nonfiction look at the mythical importance of blood. So as a horror fan, obviously so I'm gonna dig into this over vacation. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's our upcoming horror. So what are our libations, folks? What are we looking at for libations?
I'll go first.
First, I have...
All right, go Tom.
All right, now, our first one is a gift from the Whiskey Wizard. Kevin didn't bring this up last time. In fact, you're probably doing it right now because he got a visit from the Liquor Leprechaun. So I did. It came back to me when Kevin had to come and dig a rhubarb plant out of my backyard. He also brought some Old Smoky Tennessee peanut butter whiskey. Now, I have already had a shot of it. It's very good, but unlike peanut butter whiskey we had before, the kick hits you after you swallowed it. So it's that whiskey kick. All I can say is I keep drinking this. I'm going to be racing with the Duke boys and avoiding Roscoe P. Coltrane. Now, I just finished streaming. I binge watched Game of Thrones. Finally watched all 8 seasons of it. So, with all the wine drinking they've been having, I decided to have some Swedish Hill Viking Red wine.
Nice.
It's Swedish Hill is a Finger Lakes winery.
Oh, Abby loves those. Yeah, Abby loves those.
Yeah. Swedish Hill especially. They got some good stuff. If you're from upstate, I'm sure you know of the Finger Lakes region. Far superior wine than to California, I'm going to say right now.
We are rated number one. We rated number one recently.
Oh, sweet. And, just sometimes you just want to drink it and then say something in Tyrion Lannister's voice. And finally, it does sound like I'm drinking a lot, doesn't it? Blueberry Wheat Ale from Ellicottville Brewing Company. Besides wineries, New York State has also been opening a lot more craft beer areas. You can actually go on brewery tours if you wanted to. And on one tour, it was actually a brewery in Horseheads. I was introduced to blueberry beer, and it was very good, very refreshing. Ellicottville is, I believe, maybe an hour to the south of Fredonia. It's very good. In fact, it's, title was saying it's dry and fruity, and that's pretty good. So we're going with some good taste here, and I'm pretty sure the longer this goes on, I'm going to be on the floor.
It wouldn't be into the abyss if one of us wasn't on the floor. Okay, Chuck, what do you got?
All right. Well, I'm actually I don't know what I'm going to drink after this. I'm almost done with it. I've actually got myself a nice spiked chocolate milkshake. I added some Perry's chocolate ice cream, and I've got Dutch chocolate red wine mixed in with it. So they got this from Johnson City Liquor and Wine. Also from Johnson City Liquor and Wine. Maybe I'll crack this open tonight. Red Velvet Cupcake.
Ooh.
So,
wow.
But you mentioned Game of Thrones. I did see when I was there at JC Liquor and Wine, they have special Game of Thrones themed drinks that are there as well. So,
yeah, I think it's maybe been Johnny Walker, White Walker.
Yeah, it was Johnny Walker. They have some there's White Walker and a couple other flavors that are there.
It's like $80, so let's hold off.
So here's what I'm drinking tonight. I have discovered my go-to whiskey. Now, the last couple times we've met, I've had Jalapeno Ginger by 607, and I've had Ginger Spice by Cask and Crew, and I really like them. I'm a spice fan, although I'm not like a burn my mouth off fan. I want it to be spicy and taste good. Well, here's been my holy grail, and I finally bought it. And I don't know if I want to drink any other whiskey. It is Old Smoky Mango Habanero. I love it.
Habanero.
I love it. Okay. I cut it with ginger ale. Okay, so I don't drink it straight. I cut it with ginger ale. And it starts off sweet. It's got a nice spice kick in the back. And again, I like my spice, but I'm not I have to burn my mouth off. I just kind of want my mouth tingling, right? And it's so good. It's so good. I've actually told Abby I'm not allowed to drink that straight because I took a sip of it straight one time, and I'm like, oh my, this is really, really, really good. So I said I'm only allowed to cut this with ginger ale because I can't drink this straight. The other beer that I might be getting into tonight, I don't know. I'm only going with two things tonight. I have been really a fan of Founders beers lately. Several months ago, I discovered Dirty Bastard and Scotch Ale, and these, of course, are bourbon barrel aged, and it was really good. This has become my favorite, Backwoods Bastard by Founders. It's just really, really, really tasty. And Into the Abyss, those of you guys that have been following, I have a cider press now. I can press things and make my own booze. So it's been a vast experiment. I want to come up with a special Eldritch cider for Into the Abyss, and I'm expecting lots of misfires. I currently have 2 bottles of this brewing right now, so you'll see that I have an I DIY this.
We're going to be the guinea pigs, you know that, right?
Yes, you are. I DIY this on the internet. I don't have money to buy a carboy and an airlock and all this stuff. I'm like, we need to do this redneck hooch. So, obviously, the biggest thing with fermentation is the CO2. Funny story. I once tried this a couple years ago. I got all excited. I bought a big glass jug. I saw it fermenting for several days, and then I came home to discover the jug gone, and in its place were glass shards in a big wet spot because the carbonation blew the bottle up. So what you need is a balloon with a hole poked in the top so that it's gently venting all of the CO2 while it ferments and not blowing up. So this is a combination of rhubarb, apples, and pears. One of them has jalapenos steeped in it, one doesn't. So far, it's not bad. It's only been fermenting for a week and a half. I'm gonna let it go 3 to 4 weeks because that's supposed to be the most alcoholic. Is 3 to 4 weeks. I am going to face a problem at the end because what I realize is I can't keep pouring sugar into it because the sugar is just going to keep fermenting, and it's not going to get any sweeter. So at the end, I have to figure out either how to use an artificial sweetener or how to kill the fermentation and then add sugar to it so the sugar won't ferment. So you're right. You will probably be all having the Eldritch cider. And I do have...
I was going to say, here at Into the Abyss, BYOB means brew your own beer.
Yeah, Chuck, he's going to kill us. You understand?
I've also been very knick-knacky lately. So the one with the jalapeno, I have made a special bottle for it. I sterilized it and boiled it, sterilized it, and decorated it. I want to call, in honor of tonight, I want to call my special brew the Phantasm. So we'll see if, when you guys come, you have some of the Phantasm, and it, hopefully it won't, leave you blind or something like that.
Yeah. Actually, for tonight, go ahead, Tom.
No, the ATF's going to visit Kevin saying, we hear you've been brewing some hooch.
Yeah.